Welcome back to the Always Reading Book Club. It is your girl Kiki Reader, and we have made it. We are diving into the third and final book of the Beauty series by Georgia Cates. Now, if you haven't listened to the first two reviews for books 1 and 2, those links are going to be available down below in the description section. So once you finish those reviews, come and join us as we dive into book 3, Beauty from Love. We pick up right where we left off, which is them on the PJ. She wakes up before him and she goes, rushes to brush her teeth and sneak back in the bed, but he's already awake. They talk about how magical their night was as husband and wife, how it just felt different. It was like another level of intimacy that they felt. He starts talking about kids again. He wants to start right away. She, of course, is trying to figure out where this exactly is coming from. Like, why is he so intent on, like, let's start right now? So we get the deets. So basically, his dad had a heart attack at 55. His grandfather and I think his uncle also had heart attacks at 55. So clearly it seems to be hereditary. So he feels that he needs to go ahead and start having kids now. He doesn't want to wait a really long time because he doesn't want to miss out on opportunities with his children. So he's like, just promise me you'll at least think about it. She said, I will at least think about it. They get to Maui. He tells her the stories about how they used to spend different times here, his family. They would rent this house and a lot of great memories. And he brought his college buddies one time and they destroyed the place, and he wound up getting hit with a purse by from his mom because she had to pay for all the damages. And when he had said he had came there one other time without his family, she automatically thought he had brought a woman, and it was a relief to find out, oh, it was just his college friends. When they get off the PJ, he puts a blindfold on her, takes her to the house. She sees it and she's like, wait a minute, I thought we were going to be staying at a hotel. She's really happy about this because now she can scream as loud as she wants. They don't have any neighbors and things like that, so they don't have to limit themselves. So this place, being that it was somewhere where he spent with his family, he really treasures this place, and he tells her he bought this for them so they could, have this place to come visit, raise their children and things like that. I don't think they want to live here permanently, but I think this will be like a vacation house or a second house for them. And she, of course, could only think, best husband ever. He takes her on the tour of the house. It's very lovely. He's only redecorated like two of the rooms. So there's two master bedrooms because the suite was the house is big enough for two families. So there's two master suites. So he turned the second one into a pole dancing room for her. So when they go in there, she winds up sucking him off. And they probably did fuck, I can't remember. But then he takes her to have a bath, and while the water's running, he feels a patch on her bum and he rips it off. And she's like, what did you do? What did you do? And he's like, you had this thing stuck to your bum. And she told him that was the patch for her birth control. And he was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't know that that's what it was. He didn't want her to think that he did that on purpose. He really didn't know what it was. She said, it's okay. It's okay. She's saying, if I wind up pregnant, it's because, I don't think I will. I still bought spermicide. So we'll just use that up until she's able to start the new patch. And they're going to use the spermicide because they are not using condoms. That's just not going to happen. And she kind of also feels like, okay, if she does get pregnant, then it's just at this point, it's meant to be. She then gets taken to a black beach, which she had never seen before, and it was absolutely gorgeous. And he kind of describes to her how it happens, the volcanoes, and how it pushes it up on land, and there's your black beach. So she loves this. She lays back on the lounge, and it's just so beautiful being there with him. And she had a thought in her head, and he can kind of see her face and sees her mind's working. And he's like, "What's on your mind?" And she's just like, I just was thinking about how outside has always felt more natural to me, because when her mother was like coming down from her highs, she would like the house dark. She didn't want to be bothered. So when she would go outside, she always felt more freer. So he asked her, why did she let the sperm donor walk her down the aisle? It's not like he earned the privilege. And she said, honestly, he gave me to this amazing person, and that's why I really didn't care about it. It wasn't like her mom finessed her into doing it. It wasn't that at all, because that's what he was thinking, like the mom had done that. So then they wind up hunching again, and then they go to dinner later on. He was trying to get it in before they went to dinner, but she's like, no, we have reservations. And it's like a luau, and it's this whole shindig, and she was not trying to miss any of it. He's like, okay, but when we get back, we're going to christen his bed. And she's like, that's fine with me. That's fine. So they get there, and he lets her know that we're going to be sharing a table with other people. And he's like, hopefully it won't be swingers this time. And she's like, yeah, because I don't need you punching anybody. So it winds up being a couple with some boys, like 2 sons, and the woman's pregnant as well. They're very rambunctious little boys. She's sitting there looking, I hope to God, like they're not going to be like this all night. He tells her, the less attention you pay to them, they'll eventually stop. So the show starts, and they pull her from the audience along with other people. And Jack Henry, she sees a smile on his face, so she's like, he has something to do with this. So she's going to participate in the luau. So they take her in the back, have her change into the outfit, and just tell her to just follow their lead. Jack Henry is completely in awe of his girl when she comes out. He feels like she does an even better job than the dancers. He notices the guy at their table is like staring at no one but Laurel Lynn. And there's like, old, young, all types of people up there, but this guy is completely focused on Laurel Lynn. And he's getting pissy about it, but he doesn't say anything. But he does say something, like he doesn't say anything exactly about that, but he does kind of say something to like break the guy's concentration, because he doesn't want to say something to make the wife feel bad, because this husband seems to be clearly fantasizing about this woman, right? So he doesn't want to draw attention to it and make this woman feel bad. Like, get it. You're gonna look, right? I get that. You'll look at other people, but I do think it is a little messed up for you to sit there and just stare at another woman, and your woman's right there with you. That's a little insane. Like, get yourself together. So anyway, she comes back to the table. Um, she changes back into her sundress, and not too long after, he's ready to go because he's turned on. He's ready to go. Well, she's got to pee. She's like, I have to empty my bladder. He's like, we gotta go now. She's like, the house is like 10 minutes away, except for if it's traffic, it could be longer. She's like, exactly. So I'm gonna empty my bladder so we don't have any problems. So she goes, and when she comes back out, she's got a bag, and he knows she's got that hula outfit, and he gets so excited. So he winds up saying something to the guy that was at the table. He doesn't really let him know that he was watching, like that he knows that the guy was watching Laurel Lynn. But the guy said something about, I forget, Jack Henry said her name, told him her name of Laurel Lynn or something like that. And The guy goes, "Oh, such a beautiful name for a beautiful woman. If we have a girl, I might tell my wife, that could be a good name for her." And he felt some type of way, but I'm just kind of like, that's your fault because you need to say anything. You know? Like now, if the dude's gonna go and jack off, which is what you're so concerned about, he's gonna say her name when he comes. Like that's what you're upset about, but you gave him the ammunition. I'm like, he needs to get himself together. So they get to the town car and he is like ready to explode. So she winds up jacking him off. He comes really hard and she has tissue. She wipes it up. They go inside the house and she makes him wait while she puts on her hula outfit. She plays the Hawaiian version of Over the Rainbow, which I've heard is so lovely, it's so sweet. So she does the dance. He, of course, so in love, so entranced. And he says to her afterwards that, what did he say? Something about the fact that he's always like rough with her, but he wants to like make love to her. And so that's what he winds up doing. And they have a great night. He does say to her while they're fucking, like, well, making love, he does say to her, like, promise me you won't leave me. Say you'll never leave me. And I get why, people sometimes may avoid, especially him, why he would want to avoid. Because look how hard he fell for this woman, obsessed he became with this woman. Like, you kind of see why some people avoid the affection. Because this... he's a bit much. They wake up the next morning. He doesn't attack her like normal. He gives her a massage. You can tell she's kind of, worn out by all their activity. And she, of course, takes it as a challenge that he's trying to dictate how much dick she gets. And so she feels like this is her honeymoon. So she jumps and starts straddling him. His phone rings. It's his mom. And he's like, oh, shoot, I forgot to tell her, we landed okay. She's like, don't worry about it. I'll talk to her. So, of course, Margaret, of course, is so happy to talk to her. She loves Laura Lynn. And she was like, I just wanted to know when you guys were going to come back. Like, I wanted to make sure you were going to be back before Christmas. Well, they hadn't talked about it yet because this was like an open-ended honeymoon. They didn't have a set time that they had to be back. And Jack Henry kind of thought they would just spend it together in Maui. And he kind of sees Laura Lynn's face drop because this would have been her first real Christmas with a family, you know? And so he says, we'll come back by Christmas Eve, basically. And so they get off the phone and he apologized. He said, I'm so sorry. I wasn't thinking, that this would be your first time with the family, And she's like, it's okay. He said, no, it's not. That we'll be back on Christmas Eve. We're going to do that. Because she kind of was like, we can back out of it if you want to. But he saw how much that meant to her. So we fast forward. She is so tired. They're back from the honeymoon. And she's been real tired the past couple days. She winds up going to sleep when they get back to the apartment in Sydney. She wakes up. She feels like shit. He has to come in there and help her. She winds up throwing up. She's feverish. So this doesn't seem like to be a part of the migraines. He was hoping she's pregnant, but she's like, no, I don't think so. And when she winds up going to pee and she wipes, she sees blood, so she knows no baby. So when she comes out and tells him, he sounds disappointed. But at the same time, she doesn't know what to say to him. She doesn't know if she wants to say, we're going to keep trying, because she still isn't sure yet. She felt a little disappointed that she wasn't pregnant, but she's not fully committed to the idea to do it right now. It's the next day, Christmas, and, clearly Laura Lynn, she's not going anywhere. It's been rough. He almost was about to take her to the hospital. It got so bad. So it's towards the evening. She's starting to feel better. enough to where she was able to drink some water and kept it down. He gave her her Christmas gift, and I said it so wrong. Okay, so in the last one I said he was building a recording studio in the home in Maui, but that was incorrect. He's building one in their house in Avalon, which makes so much more sense because this is their actual like main home. He also gave her a belly diamond navel ring, a diamond navel ring, and she loved that. That was really cute to her. But she was so happy about the recording studio. But she wanted him to also understand that she will always choose him. If they have children, she'll always choose the children. Like she'll always choose them over music. She loves them, but it's not more than, she loves music, but it's not more than she loves him and their potential family one day. And but she was very excited about it because it means he it is an important part. It is an important thing to her. She does love it. So, it's nice that he still wanted her to still have her dream some type of way. So that made her happy. Margaret shows up. She's got leftover food and some soup. And, you can't keep Margaret away. Margaret loved Laurel Lynn. So she eats the soup for Margaret. And he was kind of like, well, damn, you barely would drink the water for me, but you'll eat soup for her. He sounds like such a spoiled kid. So she's like, well, I feel better now. So she ate the soup. And then him and his mom go off and they talk, and she didn't know the extent of what happened with the guy Blake Phillips. And so he was, told her what happened and was like, he didn't rape her, because the mom was kind of like, it's that, did that happen? And she's like, no, he didn't I got there in time. And the mom was like, well, thank goodness, she does have to go back to testify against him. And so the mom's just like, oh my gosh, that poor girl. But we protect family, you know, and she's family. She's one of us now, and we do it at all costs. And so I like that. And again, this is why I love Margaret. You know, she accepted her. She would do anything in the world for that girl. Hands down. No questions. No, well, only if this works for me. Nothing like her birth mother. Which is wild that someone could give birth to you and yet not feel that way for you. And a stranger can feel that way for you. But yet, prime example of how that can happen. So he heard her mom's ringtone. And so he's like, well, at least she's calling her for Christmas. And he feels like at least she'll have her mom in her life, even if it's from a distance. We fast forward to New Year's Eve, and they're going to Emma and Evan's house for their party. They've invited, their friends over. And it makes her think about the fact that she's never met any of his friends. And it kind of makes her wonder, like, why, you know, it's like they're secluded from her. Because at the wedding, it was just family and then her friend Addison. That was it. And she's thinking like maybe he didn't want her to feel bad because she doesn't have a lot of people in her life. But now she's starting to think like why is he trying to keep me away from the friends? Well, he lets her know they're man whores. You're not missing it out on anything. But he says if you want to invite them for my birthday coming up, you can. It's not really a big deal, but if that's something you need to do, you can. So they get to the party. She's with Emma most of the time because Emma's like walking her around, introducing her to everybody. Evan's the bartender, and Evan likes to make each drink you get stronger and stronger, so you'll get fucked up. So she's had a couple of drinks, and she's meeting everyone. And finally, she's like, she just needs a break. So she goes outside to catch some air, and a woman comes up, petite blonde woman, pretty much how, you know, she knows she's the new wife and all this type of stuff. And she said something about her accent, and it was like it seemed sweet, but it was laced with bitch. Like she knew, like, okay, this is a mess. Well, eventually it comes out this is Lana. This is the bitch that broke his heart, made him start wanting just situational situationships. And so he comes over. He, of course, has to stop her because the bitch tried to kiss him. And she was real blunt with this. And he's like, you need to stop. Like, I am married. Stop. She's like, well, when you get tired of her, I know you need a variety. And I'm okay with that. So when you get tired of her, you can come in and get in and find me. So Laura Lynn went in on her and was like, pretty much let her know, I know who you are. I know what you tried to pull to get him to stay with you and it didn't work. You know, we're married now. We're happy, blah, blah, blah. So then she gets mad at Laura Lynn because he had made a comment. I guess Lana said something about how they used to fuck like champions. And he has made that statement to her in Maui. So she felt like, is that what you say to all your women? And he told her, like, I've said that to plenty of people. That's not anything special, you know? I've said that with my guy friends. I've said that with plenty of people. And so now she's getting an attitude. But it's because she still has an issue with the past that he has, okay? That's the problem. She says she accepts it, but every time she meets a new one, it pisses her off because now she has to face the reality. It's like you can know something happened, but you don't have to deal with it. But when these women come in her face, she has to deal with it and she doesn't like it. I get that it's not fun, but sweetheart, when someone, has a whorish type past, this is what happens. Especially, you got to think, he had all these women. He wouldn't tell them his real name. He wouldn't give them anything. And now he's popped up and married someone. That's going to fuck with all their heads. Because it's like, well, why the hell he didn't want to get to know me? Why didn't he fall for me? And yet it's a problem for her. It makes her think about, is she good enough, right? Like, doubting that this man clearly loves her, it makes her almost doubt it. And it's like, girl, get it together. And her being pissed at him in public is stupid when you see a bitch is there that wants your man. Are you dumb? That's so stupid. Because now they know, ooh, got to her. That's all they're looking for. So they wind up going in the bedroom. He pulled her into the bedroom. Jack Henry did. And he's like, why are you getting upset with me? He's like, I didn't do anything. And she was like, she said something to him. He said, yes, I was broken back then. I'm not broken anymore. Like, why are you trying to make me feel like bad about it? And that made her feel stupid, which it should have. You know, it should have. Don't let a bitch get in your head and let her see that she's gotten in your head. That's the thing. It's bad enough that you let them slip in, but then you let them know that they've gotten in your head, you know? So he was pissed off and he wanted to leave the room and he said infinity. And that's their word that they came up with when they're ready to go and like, let me go. And so she realizes she's fucked up. Like, she really fucked up. She was being real stupid. And I don't know. She just annoyed me with that because they're in public. People are there. And this is where she's showing her young ass age. Don't get it twisted. Older women might do the same stupid shit because they can have a young mentality. But when you take on someone that you knew was a whore, that means there's a possibility you're going to run into one of their whores. That's the possibility. And she wants to live in a world where she never has to see him. Well, bitch, y'all should have moved to America. Just saying. Sure enough, when Jack Henry walks out of the room, Lana is right there. She was eavesdropping on the whole conversation. And so she, of course, is playing on all the things that Laura Lynn said. She's grabbing at him because she, of course, wanted Laura Lynn to walk out and see them on. And that's exactly what happens. Even though he's trying to get away from her and she wouldn't let go, it still looks bad. So Laura Lynn walks out, walks past him. She leaves. He winds up punching the sheet wall right next to Lana's head and tells her, I never want to see you again. And it scared her. And so then he leaves out. She's called for the driver, Daniel. She's outside. He told Evan what happened. Evan's like, that's why she kept trying to get an invite. So she wasn't initially invited, but she called Emma because Emma knows her. That was the connection of how he met her. She was friends with Emma. And she was fishing for an invitation. And so, sure enough, she got invited. Well, so he goes out, finds Laura Lynn outside, and he tells her, it's not what it looked like. I don't want her. He was like afraid that she wasn't going to let him get in the car with Daniel because the way she was acting, but she let him get in. They get back to the house, and he's like, it's 5 minutes to the new year. Let's just say everything that we want to say to each other and no one responds. Just say how we feel. So he starts off, he admits that he's afraid his past is going to keep her from staying with him, that it's going to be too much for her and she's going to leave. She's afraid. Oh, he's also afraid that she doesn't want to have kids with him because she's not sure of him because of his past. She admits that his past does piss her off. She's still mad that there was almost a number 14. She's afraid she's going to be a bad mother. She's going to be like her own, is her fear. And afterwards, he thought she was going to kick him out of their bedroom, but she didn't. Um, she lets him undress her. And he was just kind of like, what are you doing? This is torture if you let me do this, but you're not going to let me inside you. But she was like, I'm sorry, it's not torture. That's the last thing I want to do to you. And she tells him, no, he tells her, I want you to have my baby now. That's the thing I want. So while they're in the bathroom, they wind up having a nice heart fuck. She didn't use any spermicide, so it seems like she's going along with proceeding with this kid. We fast forward about a week or two, and it felt really good for her to say all that stuff to each other. She's hoping that's something that they can possibly do again. It felt very cleansing for her. She's at his parents' house helping with the party. His mom's making his favorite cake, which is a chocolate cake. And she kind of thinks to herself, like, damn, I didn't even know chocolate cake was his favorite. But again, they've spent some time together, right? But they haven't known each other for a very long time. So even though I want to say it's been like a year, but you got to think for only 3-4 months top, they've been together. So it hasn't been, maybe longer. No. It's been a little longer. So we'll say like maybe 6 months of them technically being around each other. So yeah, you're not going to know everything. But as time goes on, you learn. So she tells Margaret that she has decided to go ahead and start trying for a baby. Margaret, of course, is very thrilled. She tells her a little trick. She says, after he does his business, then you just put a pillow under your bum, sit like that stay that way for like 15 minutes. That way you're letting, I guess, gravity do its work. Okay? So she's like, okay. So, you know, it's so funny that her mother-in-law tells her this type of stuff. Like, she also told her that when it comes to the power of the nookie, this is the part I'm talking about with that statement. She tells her, when they act up, you don't give them any nookie. That's how she got Henry to retire, because he wasn't going to do it. But she stopped screwing him. And that's what did it. And so she tells her, he starts acting like a little shit because I know he can, because he's my kid. Take the nookie away. So after that conversation, which was funny, um, she's so excited, Margaret, because she can't wait to get her hands on some new grandbabies. We switch back to Jack Henry's POV, and he gets to the house and he sees Ben there. So Addison's brother, Ben, is dating Chloe, Jack Henry's baby sister. And so he goes outside with Ben to talk to him. Ben apologizes for what he did in the past, and Jack Henry is trying to find what angle this, Ben is trying to work. Like, what angle is this? And he lets him know, first of all, I really like Chloe. Second of all, you forget my family is in the wine business. So I don't need Chloe for any connections. So Jack Henry's going to try and keep the peace. And, we'll see how that goes. But Jack Henry's even more protective of Chloe because the mother described, like, when she was younger, he was just all about protecting her. Like, he wouldn't even let Evan near her. He was just very protective. So his response is like double layered when it comes to this guy. He already can't stand him for what happened with Laura Lynn. And now, of all people, you get my baby sister. I get what he's thinking. It feels like you're trying to get me from another angle. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see. I hope Ben is not that type. But he really showed his ass when it came to Laura Lynn. So we'll just have to kind of wait and see. So later on, they leave. And when they get back to the apartment, Laura Lynn small box. And it's an ovulation test. And he is like, are you this to just show me this, or are you telling me that you're ready? And she says, I'm showing you because I'm ready. And it does show that she is ovulating. So he's super happy. And they wind up fucking. And then afterwards, she puts the pillow under her butt. So while she's waiting the 15 minutes, he's just staring at her cooch. And he's talking about all the things he wants to do with her. So when the time's up, all that teasing, she's ready, right? And he's not doing it. So then eventually he winds up flipping her over and they have a nice hard fuck. So then afterwards they're laying there and he's playing with her and he takes his finger and goes down her ass crack. And it kind of makes her wonder, did he do anal play with the other women? Because she had made a comment like, maybe we should talk how did she say it? Like, we should talk about the things we did with our previous partners. He, of course, doesn't think this is a good idea. I don't either. I don't know if you, I don't know. I guess because, yeah, that was a great moment of confession, but how much do you really want to know? Maybe in a generic form, like, oh, have you ever done anal play? Something like that, but not like listing every single thing you did with the different women. I don't think she can handle that. And I don't know why she even attempted to try it. Because I'm like, I don't think that's it. And he even was like, he doesn't want to know what she did with Blake. Because that's the only person I think she was with. I don't think she was with anyone else besides the Blake guy. So, ugh. So she says her and Blake, like, it was always just missionary, She says they explored, but I'm like, okay, but if it was just missionary, okay, but that's what she says. So he lets her know, if there is anything that you're not comfortable with, we do not have to try it. this kind of scares her and makes her even more curious about what he's done. You know, like, has he done anal play with the one? But then I'm just like, just ask him. Is that something you've ever tried? That's all you got to ask. You know, it could have been something he tried in college, but you'll never know. Just ask him that. I feel like she's making it more difficult, you know? So she decides in her head that she's going to ask Addison if she's ever done it because she sure probably has. He does eventually tell her, like, she asks him kind of flat out, like, did he do it with the other women? He says, just to let you know, I never did it with that. I've never done that with anyone. He lets her know, like, the only thing he cares about is getting his little swimmers where they're supposed to be. So it's not really something, again, he's never done it, and it's not something that he's feeling like he has to have that. I kind of feel like that's probably going to make her want to do it, because then it'll be something that he hasn't experienced with anyone else. It'll be feel more special for her. So the next day she goes to breakfast with Margaret, Emma, and Chloe. They, of course, are giving her all, well, let me say it correctly, Margaret and Emma are giving her the different ways to try and get pregnant. She comes back, they're packing up because they're going back to Wagga Wagga, and she goes to see if she left anything in the bathroom, and she sees in the trash the germicide, not germicide, the spermicide in the trash because he threw it away. And that, of course, he told her, he's like, well, I did it because that feels more real. Not having that around, it's not an option. So that feels more real about the process. They get back home, and Mrs. Porcelli is already gone for the day. So it's raining, and she's like, let's just spend the day in bed together. So, of course, they go in there. And instead of the hardcore fucking at first, he does the nice lovemaking session, because he did say something to her in her confession, um, about while they were afterwards, he made this statement to her, because remember in her confession she said that she thought she was going to be just like her mom, a bad mom. And he says to her, you are such a loving person, you are pure love, and you could never be a bad mother. And she, of course, was like, I thought we weren't going to say anything. You know, we weren't able to respond to what we said. And he says, I know, but I just felt like you needed to know that, you know? And I think he's right. I think it's not going to cure everything, because this, of course, is something that's built up over the years. But I do feel like it can possibly help a little bit, push her in the direction of realizing she's nothing like her mother. She's not going to be that way. So then after that, they do it again. She puts a little pillow underneath her buttocks again, and while she does that, he does rub her clit so she can at least have an orgasm, because she apparently didn't come, and he likes to make sure she does. We fast forward a few days, and she's having brunch with Addison. Addison was running late, by the way. And it's a really nice restaurant. It's a fusion restaurant that our boy Jack Henry had suggested. And so when the woman calls her Mrs. McLaughlin, it makes her kind of makes her feel some type of way, like, how does this woman know who I am? And I'm like, I'm quite sure the dude probably made the reservation, probably said it's for, Mrs. McLaughlin. Like, I don't know. I think she's just, again, just overthinking it, because she's always terrified she's going to run into the other 12. So Addison finally gets there, and she does ask Addison, like, okay, why didn't you give me a heads up that, Chloe and Ben were dating? She was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I completely forgot. I'm so messed up. Well, we find out what's going on. This heifer is pregnant. She hasn't told Zach yet, because she wants Zach to be with her, because this is what he wants. But she says whenever he talks about the future, it's always just him owning a vineyard, but he never includes her in the plans. So she just kind of feels like this isn't something that he wants. On top of the fact, he apparently tracks her birth control. Like, he knows every 28 days. Like, he tracks it, to make sure. So it seems like he doesn't want children, and she doesn't want a pity proposal, right? I'm pregnant, so now you'll marry me. She wants him to do it because he wants to. And then she makes a statement that I think is very problematic, because she's like, she wants him to love her the way that Jack Henry loves Laurel Lynn. And that's very problematic. We know they have issues, right? We know they have problems. She may know a little something, but she clearly has put this relationship on a pedestal, and that's never good to do. You know, I think you can look at other relationships and, you try and okay, that's okay. I like that aspect, but you should never look at a relationship in its totality and feel like, no, I want that one, because you don't know what you're asking for. You want what works for you. So, her making that statement to me was just problematic, because it's like, girl, you should not be comparing yourself with that stuff. I get her being fearful. Okay, if when he talks about the future, he's not including you, I get that. But that's where you have a conversation and you ask, so you know what's going on. Maybe listen to him 2 times, see if he brings you up in when he's talking about his future. And if he doesn't bring you up, so am I not in this? Because if not, let me know now. There's certain ways you can do it, but she's terrified. And Laura Lynn lets her know, I'm going to be here for you. So even if he decides he doesn't want to help and he's not going to be there, you have me. Laura Lynn really she's really a sweet person. She gets on my nerves with some stuff, with her insecurities. I get where that comes from, unfortunately. But gosh, she does have a really good heart. So after the lunch with, well, I'm sorry, was it lunch? Brunch at that point. Brunch with Addison. She goes home and she talks to Jack Henry, and he's shocked because he's thinking that Addison is, did she try and get pregnant? Like, he thinks really poorly of Addison, which I understand kind of in the beginning, because I did too. But I feel like she's grown, and she kind of owned up to where she fucked up, and she's tried to do better. So it's a couple days before our girl Laura Lynn's birthday, and she's going to be spending it with the family in Sydney. So they go, and before they leave out, he's got a new intern named Bianca, and she's hot. And Laura Lynn takes note. And apparently she's been working for Jack Henry for a couple months. Come to find out, she's the granddaughter of the guy that gave him those tickets to the opera. So it was like a favor to his client to bring her on. And Laura Lynn can kind of see, like, this woman is feeling her husband. She sees it. And when they get in the car, she brings it up. And she says, basically, just to let you know, anything happens, she's gone. Because I peep her game. And he was just kind of like, okay, whatever you say. She also tells him to, like, back up off Ben, and take it easy with Chloe, because this is a new relationship and they don't need your bullshit, like, coming down on them as well. So he'll try. So we'll see how that pans out. So they get to the house Laura Lynn winds up talking with Chloe. Chloe is really crazy about Ben. Like, she says it's the best D she's ever had, and she thinks he's the one. And so Laura Lynn says, I'm working on Jack Henry, because I don't. The girl wants her, her brother's approval, and we get why. He was like a second father to her. So we get why she wants his approval. And so she's like, I'm gonna look out for you. I'm gonna talk with him and try and get him to at least get on the same page. We fast forward a couple days, and Laura Lynn is having a day with Addison. This is her actual birthday. And Laura Lynn is kind of, wanting to look after Addison, which annoys Jack Henry a little bit because it's like she's always putting others before herself. But this is just who she is. So they're talking, and she lets him know she's probably going to take her to a sex store that'll probably, make Addison, cheer her up. She's having a rough time, X, Y, and Z. He's like, you can bring something back. You got to bring something back. It just can't be anything that could go inside you. She's like, okay, bet. So she leaves, and we find out he bought her a Porsche Cayenne, the four-door SUV. And so she really likes his fast car, but, they're going to need something better, with having a kid. So, but he could have got a Panorama. What is it, Panorama or something like that? The four-door one. He could have got her either one, but he got her the SUV. And so he's got a meeting in town with a new client that he's trying to land. And so after this business meeting, then he'll be able to go and pick up the vehicle. Well, Bianca, the intern, comes in, and he told her he's got 2 packages coming. One's going to be this new product they're using to try and stop a problem that they're having with mildew. And then the other one is for him. And so she's like, okay. And the way she put her hand on his shoulder, she was like, anything for you, Jack. So that right there already, he felt it was inappropriate. He knew that was off. Like, there's something's off, so but he left it alone. He left, gets her vehicle, comes back, and he doesn't see the package, because when he pulled up, Harold, who, runs the vineyard, is like, we never got it, and he's like, I told Bianca to bring it out to you. He's like, I haven't seen her. So then he's going looking, and then he's looking also for the other package that was for Laura Lynn, because it was her birthday gift. It was lingerie. I said, oh shit, I already know what was popping. Well, he goes to his bedroom, and sure enough, this bitch is in the lingerie that he had for his wife. And she makes the comment, I knew there was something between us. You could have just told me. You didn't have to leave hints. He tells her, that was not for you. That was for my wife. Get your clothes on, because he hears the damn garage opening. So Laura Lynn's home. So she's trying to rush. Laura Lynn comes up. He's blocking the bedroom door. And at first she's thinking like, oh, we playing a little game. Then she feels real closely. Step out the way. What's going on? Sure enough, the girl's half putting her clothes on. And she's like, what the hell? And he said it was a misunderstanding. She said, no, you are done. She beat the shit out of the girl. He had to drag her off of her. He said, damn, she's scrappy. And then she told her, you're done. You are out of here, And he had to back her up. And he said, you can never come back here. And she was like, please don't do this. I need the credits. And my thought was, well, you should have thought about that before you did this. He hasn't been giving you any hints. You did this based on how you felt. You wanted him. And so when you want someone and they're not giving you anything, you'll do anything to make it seem as if they're doing something. They're giving you something. So she did this to herself. He told her, I'm sorry, but you got to go and you can never come back here. You're going to have to find another internship. He had plans to go out, to dinner, but that was gone. So the next day they're going to do it. They'll go out to dinner. Laurel Lynn loves her vehicle, you know. She's super happy about that. So he's waiting at the restaurant, and then someone comes up with a blonde wig. He doesn't look at him, but then he hears that southern twang, and he knows this is Laura Lynn, of course, acting as if she's someone else. So before the woman, because the woman just came up just kind of propositioning him, and he didn't even look up. He just told the woman, no, I'm married. Like, he really wasn't paying attention to this person. So when he sees it's Laura Lynn, okay, he just thought, okay, he'll play this game. Because he remembers what she said, which was one of her fears was she was afraid he was going to want someone else, like some type of variety, right? Which is also playing on what that woman Lana said. And so she was trying to give him this, but he never said he wanted it. These were just the thoughts in your head. So anyway, they go upstairs and they get in the room, but when he bucks her, it's hard. It's like a punishment. And she stopped it, and he was like, what's wrong? And her fear was always that he fucked those other women better than her, that he was going to miss it because it was better. And so she says she has to leave. I was really pissed at her because why would you open this door? He's never told you he wants anyone else. He's never tried to make you be anyone else. And because this is in your brain, you've now done something, and now you think, oh, this is he fucked them better than he did me, and I'm his wife. But I can't feel sorry for her because she did this to herself. And maybe he fucked the other women like that. Maybe he did. Maybe he did try and do something different since you were trying to do something different. You know what I'm saying? But she equates everything to he loved his life with the other women. That's how she equates everything. It's just insane. But anyway, she winds up leaving. And she's like, I need some time to think. And again, she can't leave the past alone. And it's like he doesn't live there anymore, but she's still there. And it's just sad. It's just sad. She calls Addison to come over to talk. Addison tells her she's stupid. She said, why would you ever do that? He never told you he wanted someone else. So why would you try to put that in his mind? And then she says the whole thing about how he, fucked her harder. That was better than he normally fucks her. So again, in her mind, that's how she's equating this shit. And then she feels stupid as she's talking to Addison, which is why I do like Addison. This is one thing Addison has always told her. She's always kept it a buck with her when it came to the situation. She does not hold back. She tells her the truth. So she winds up going back to the hotel, telling him how stupid she was. And then he's drunk already. He done drunk half a bottle of either scotch. I think it's scotch he done drunk. And at that point, though, she needed to feel him. So he got himself up now. He got ready. So she sat on their fuck. So then the next morning they wake up and he had ordered breakfast. And the whole thing was they were going to take the pregnancy test together, And so she went in the bathroom to pee on the stick while he was taking care of, the breakfast, like getting that pulled in. And so she hears a woman talking as she's about to come out. And this woman says, I saw your wedding announcement. And so that's when I knew I needed to reach out to you and let you know you've got a 2-year-old. And you need to start supporting the child. So that's when Laura Lynn comes out. She's pissed because she's like, I'm so tired of this shit. Like, these women just keep coming out of nowhere. And the woman put her number on the back of the photo of the child. It's a boy. And she says, give me a call when you're ready to talk. So then Laura Lynn says, after she leaves, is this a possibility? And he said, yeah, I did. I messed with her for a few weeks, but we always use condoms. I don't see how it could be. He's like, I'll have to think. And that's when she spazzes out and says, I can't take this anymore. I can't do this. Like, every time I turn around, it's someone new popping up in my face, and this just keeps happening. And she was like, she wanted to give him children, this and that. But this is something, baby, you can't get mad at him about, because he didn't know he had another child, right? If this is his, he didn't know that. But if you get with someone and you know they have a history of whoredom, you can't really get mad if something pops up out the woodwork. All of that shit needs to be taken into consideration when you decide on a life with them. Because you know this is a possibility. Like, come on. But she winds up saying infinity, so he's got to move out of the way because, you know, that's their word. Ugh. Jack calls the woman back. Her name's Jenna Rosenthal. She did give him her real name when they had their encounter. So then the woman tells him, oh, that was quick. And then she tells him that she has a test ready to go. But he's like, oh, no. I'm going to my lawyer and we'll set up an appointment. And the woman is all concerned about his marriage, saying how, you know, she's going to be all up in his marriage, all up in his life because of the child whose name is Ashton. So he gets off the phone and then he goes, takes a shower, and he's, you know, like, I got to get to Laura Lynn. And he sees the pregnancy test. He was going to wait, but he couldn't. Looks, our girl is pregnant. So then we switch back to Laura Lynn. She's right. She goes right in the house. Addison is bleeding bad. So she's not even able to tell her about the bullshit that went down, which I think is probably good. This takes her mind off of it. So then Addison is, you know, of course, afraid she is miscarrying because of all of the blood everywhere. Sheets ruined, trail of blood, right? So she has her put like a towel in between her legs and puts on a pair of Jack Henry sweatpants. She drives a little faster than she should to get her to the hospital. And they get her all hooked up. And we find out this heifer is 4 months pregnant. Baby, thank goodness. While they were in the car, Laura Lynn had told her, you better... And, you know, Addison was like, you know, I don't believe in that or whatever. She did decide, though, she wants the baby. Whether Zach is going to be there or not, she wants this baby. And so when they hear the heartbeat, it's such a relief. Because, of course, with all that bleeding, they thought that was it. But because of it, they want to do more scans. They find out it's Previa. And so she's going to have to be on bed rest. And Addison tells Laura Lynn, call Zach, tell him I'm in the hospital, but I think it's, you know, I'm going to tell him everything. And so she calls him, he gets there, he's in panic, you know, and she's like, Addison has something to tell you, and she leaves out of the room. Jack Henry comes home, and he doesn't see her, but he sees all this blood. He's freaking out because he's thinking, oh my gosh, she's miscarried. It's my fault from what I did. He's spiraling, right? He's called a hospital trying to find this girl. And then finally she came back and he knows it's not her. And she tells him what happened. We find out Zach was so happy when she told him. Come to find out, he had the ring in his pocket for weeks. He just didn't. He was trying to find the perfect time to ask her to marry him. So that was sweet because now she knows it's not about, you know, because she's pregnant. So good for her. But yeah, she's got to stay on bed rest and for a long time, and she'll have to have a C-section. But she should be okay. So then they start talking about stuff, and he winds up telling her that he looked at the pregnancy test and she's pregnant. And he, of course, had to let her no, like, don't let what happened this morning diminish this moment for our child, right? Because in her mind, it was like, he's already got a kid. This isn't as special. And that made her feel stupid because she realized what she was doing. It's like, no, you don't take away that special moment from this child because he might have a kid from before he ever met you. You know what I'm saying? And so that helped her, and she was able to kind of be happy about the situation. She doesn't want to tell people right now, um, because she feels like it could be overshadowed by the fact that there's this potential other kid. So right now she just kind of wants to keep it between the two of them. Now what she tells him is kind of like, I don't want, with the possibility of a miscarriage, right? Which seems plausible being what just happened with her best friend, but that's not really it. It's the fact that he probably got this other kid out there that's going to have to be explained, so eh, she wants to keep it to herself. It's the day of the paternity test, and she did agree to go with him. But she feels so sick. She's been throwing up, morning sickness, kicking her ass. So they're finally able to leave and get there. And so when they get pulled in the bag, the woman says, their reason for being there. And then she looks at Laura Lynn and is like, your wife doesn't look, she doesn't look too good. And he says, she's pregnant. The woman congratulates her. And then there's like this awkward silence because it's like, you're here for a paternity test. So this again proves her point of why she doesn't want to tell people right now because it's going to be overshadowed by this new kid. So he takes the swab. The doctor comes in. He does not have good bedside manner. This is a pediatrician's office, and he's like, "Oh God, I would never like have this guy because he has horrible bedside manner." And we don't know if it's because they're adults, so he doesn't know how to act with them, or if he's just piss poor. We don't know. Um, the guy says they'll have the results in a week. They'll mail them. Jack Henry requested to get a call. They leave out and they run into old girl, uh, Jenna. So she's got baby Ashton on her hip. He's like 2 years old. And he made the appointments an hour apart. So it hasn't been an hour, which means she showed up sooner than what she was supposed to catch a glimpse of him. And so she sees Laura Lynn and she's like, I didn't expect to see you here. And then she's telling the baby, this is your father and this is your evil stepmother, like all this type of shit. And she's like, you are the father and it's going to be proven today and like all this stuff. She's just a little too amped up. Something's off with her. But we'll see what happens. So they leave from there. She gets upset in the car. She says to him, why do you always have to fuck crazy bitches? Like, this is this is crazy bitch number 3. And he says, I'm sorry, you know? And I don't know. It's like, I just feel like she should have forgiven him. Or I don't want to say forgiven him because he wasn't with her. So he don't have to apologize for nothing, in my opinion. But she should have made better peace with this before she accepted that marriage proposal, before they got married. She should have made more peace with this shit, and she didn't. You know? After one crazy bitch pop up, that tells me this can happen at any time. And she just didn't deal with it. Clearly. Clearly. So anyway, they haven't, the past 5 days, they haven't fucked. They've been in the same bed, but no sex. And so he calls ahead to Mrs. Porcelli to set up a picnic. They wind up going in the cave where they can have them some alone time. They wind up fucking. Um, he told her all these beautiful things, how much he loves her, how much he's so happy about the baby and, and her and all this type of shit. And she realizes she's being too hard on him for something that happened before her. Again, yeah, chill the fuck out. Jack Henry gets a call. Fast forward a week, the results are in, but he's got an appointment with Laurel Lynn as well. It's her first appointment. So they have to wait a little while for the doctor, but she was delivering a baby. Now he's about to spaz out because he can't stand lateness, but Laura Lynn understood, you know? She's like, she's a doctor. She has to deliver babies as well, you know? So then after she comes in, they come back, we find out she delivered technically three babies. She had two different deliveries to do, and one was a set of twins. So she's 6 weeks along. They're able to see the baby. She's happy. Both of them are happy. Now she's okay with telling people, um, because it's like, okay, it feels more real. I mean, it should have felt real when she was sick, but anyway, it's cool. So he knows he's gonna be a father, and he doesn't feel like that other child is his. He feels no connection, like something's off. The child has blonde hair, blue eyes, which we know doesn't mean anything. It still could have been his, but he just doesn't feel that it's going to be. So when they get to the car, he kind of asks her, he told her the results are in. She says, let's just go pick them up. Let's get it over with. So they get the results, but they don't open them until they get back home. She starts crying because she is kind of afraid of what it might say. He opens it up. It's a little confusing to him at first, but what it boils down to is this is not his baby. It's not possible. There is 0% possibility. And all he can think is, thank goodness, one fire out.